Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and this week I've created a project that celebrates my dark side. That's what Vicki calls it, and it's true. I do like a dark background. It just makes everything stand out, and I'm gonna make it actually kind of fun. I started with this layer with the idea that I wanted to play with the dark and the neutral set, but I really didn't want to create a layout and end up being a layout. It's gonna be a little bit busy and a little bit messy and a lot of me. So I am starting with a foundation paper, and this is Vicki's brand. It's 140-pound, really heavy cardstock, so it's gonna hold the mixed media nicely, and it has a soft coating on top of the paper, which is gonna allow you to play with the mixed media. So what I'm gonna use for this layout are the gray and the black art crayons. These are from the neutral set, and these are pretty much all the color that I'm gonna add to it. So what I have done is I'm starting with the gray crayon. I have scribbled it on a piece of acetate and then diluted with some water, and then I'm gonna apply it onto my background. But the way I'm gonna apply it is I'm just going to take my brush, add a splatter of color onto the cardstock, and then move it with my brush. I want a very organic look onto this paper, and I really want to add lots of splatters. Now I'm gonna repeat what I said before. I started this project with a picture in mind. I had an idea, but as I started working the background, the idea of creating a layout kind of disappeared, and I just having fun with the mixed media. So a lot of what I'm doing is just something that I probably would have done for an art journal, but I'm gonna transform it into a layout. So a lot of my mixed media is gonna be a kind of hidden. So please, if you want to leave me a comment about it, I'm okay. I understand that you don't want to see the mixed media that I created hidden. I don't mind it. I know it's there, and I'm gonna make sure that some of the things that I am adding are outside of what all the embellishments of the paper, so you can see it. So all I'm doing, again, like I said, I'm going back to the layout, is I'm just adding some of the gray diluted art crayon onto my background. And you're gonna see that I add splatters, and then I move the splatters with my brush. This is possible because I'm using Vicki's foundation paper. If you do not have foundation paper and you wanna recreate kind of the same technique, then you're gonna have to add yeso to a regular cardstock to be able to move the mixed media the way that it moves in the paper. So once I have said that, you're gonna see that I'm just applying, kind of going for a triangular form. There's just like an amoeba form on the paper, and just to finish my application, whatever leftover paint or watercolor that I have on my piece of acetate, I'm just gonna pick it up and create those big droplets on my paper. Now I'm gonna make sure that this dries completely before I go into the next step, and I like letting my stuff dry on its own. I don't like using a heat gun. The paper goes flatter, and I get those little rings, like kind of watermarking that the watercolor creates, which I love. So now that my paper has dried, I'm gonna come in with the black art crayon, and again, same procedure. I'm gonna scribble it on a piece of acetate, add some water to dilute it. I want to make sure that I have the consistency of watercolor, and then I'm just going to literally splatter onto the gray, where the gray application is at, and then I'm just gonna spread it with my brush. Now the black application is gonna be a little bit smaller than the gray, so that the little pops of the gray color show on the background, and then I am gonna add more of the black splatters. Now this background, it's gonna be like I said before, I'm gonna cover quite a bit of it, but I think once you see it build, if you have pictures of a night sky or fireworks, or you want to create a celebration layout, this might be an idea that you want to go for, because you're gonna see what I'm gonna do that is gonna just make it stand out, make it like kind of celebration, think of sparklers. That's what is this layout, the background looks like at the end. So all I'm doing right now is just working my black application. Like I said, it's smaller than the gray, but I am gonna add a few more splatters, and you're gonna see that it's not as dark as you think. When you dilute our crayon, it's not as black as you think it's gonna be. But black backgrounds, for some reason, it's not for some reason, they just kind of absorb all the noise around it and make you focus on what it's going on top of it. That's the beauty of a dark background. So again, I'm adding my splatters, and I'm gonna set it aside to dry completely. And while it was drying, my brain was thinking, okay, like I said, stop being a layout. At this point, stop being a layout. And I was just thinking, oh, I think I can do this. So like again, I'm playing with my black my black art crayons, and I had a hard time here deciding on what stencil I'm gonna use, and I'm gonna end up using two stencils. So for the first one, I wanted something that gives movement and that can help me tell the story on the background. So I'm gonna go for these scripty words that come in the Storyteller collection. And I love the fact that it says love this day. There's a lot of quick sentiments like inspire others, a good life. So once again, I'm gonna reach for my black art crayon. I'm gonna scribble it on a piece of acetate. I have my stencil brush, and I'm going to a circular motion on top of the stencil, and I'm thinking I really want to accent the color. I want to make it really dark. So you're gonna see that I'm just gonna splash a little bit of water onto my art crayon, and then it's gonna dilute. So I'm gonna go with my brush on top of it. So when I apply this on a circular motion on top of the stencil, the application or the impression is gonna be a little bit darker. It's not gonna be as light. You know, when you go with your brush and the dry crayon, you have like this nice ink. It looks like an inked background, but I wanted something a little bit deeper. So by adding the little bit splash of water, I'm just kind of making the crayon react so it goes deeper and darker, which is gonna bring the dark side. And you're gonna see that I'm adding my stencil. I'm not making it perfect. I'm breaking some of the letters. I'm gonna accent some words just because I wanna have the different tones. So for that, I'm just gonna add more art crayon, a splash of water. For example, the word life is gonna be accented. I'm gonna add a little bit, another sentence at the top that says love this life, just because I'm trying to create a triangle. There's a word that I'm gonna add that say hi, which is it. Same thing, I'm just gonna accent those colors, and those are pretty much the words that are gonna show from behind all of my embellishments and my papers. So once I'm pretty much done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and set it aside to dry. So I'm gonna let it dry because because I am adding the art crayon with a little bit of water. It just needs for that water to completely dry before I can continue working. And it's gonna take no time, but I wanna make sure that it completely dries before I continue working. So while that I was drying, and here's what I said: if you wanna make a celebration layout, this, especially if you're documenting fireworks, then you want to do this. What I reached out is from the Storyteller stencil. There's one that has circles and it looks like pie charts but with like missing segments, so it looks like a sparkler. So I reached for that stencil, and I'm mixing iridescent glaze and gold glaze together. I wanted something not as dark as the gold glaze, so I'm gonna lighten it up by adding some of the iridescent glaze. But my iridescent glaze is kind of drying up, so it took me a while to mix them together. So to soften it a little bit, I'm gonna add a splash of water, and you can, not a lot, just a splash, just to soften the iridescent glaze a bit and help me, spread it and just mix it together nicely. Once I have that, I'm gonna come in with the stencil, and I think that I really had, like I said, this idea that it went from being a layout to an art journal to a layout in spans of seconds. So you're gonna see that my mix is ready. I have my container with water, so instead of me having to worry about things getting hardened, all the glazes, I just toss it in my water container, so I know it's gonna remain loose, so I can clean it easily. So what I'm coming with is my stencil, and I'm gonna use that one that, like I said, looks like a sparkler. But when I'm gonna apply my glaze onto it, I'm not gonna cover the entire area. I'm gonna make sure that I apply it heavier in the center and then just spread it. And because I'm not going heavy with it, it's not gonna create a very defined look at the little segments. Instead, it gives me these really thin lines, which reminds me of fireworks at night. So I was gonna say, if you want to do this for create a firework layout or a celebration, then try this. Don't go heavy with the application of the glaze. Just go light, and don't try to cover the entire thing. It's gonna be these thin lines that remind me of fireworks. And just to accent that gold tone, I just diluted whatever leftover paste that I had, and I just add some of those droplets around my little application. I'm gonna set it aside to dry, and then I'm just gonna start working, like I said, transform my little art journal back into a layout. So I'm just gonna pull out pieces of paper. I know I want to work with crafts because it's gonna bring some of that kind of goldish brown tone that I have on the sparkler. I'm gonna bring a few more papers, and I have quite a bit of paper left over still, but I have a lot of pieces, so I'm gonna use some of them just to create my layout. I really like this little, it looks like a film strip, but I know I'm not gonna use it to add pictures, not in this format. I will use it in a smaller format for my traveler's notebook, which is what I document daily. So instead I'm going to use it as part of my background. And you're going to see that I'm just playing with layers. I'm trying to continue that triangular form, kind of an inverted L that I have on my background. So I'm just playing with the layers. And this picture here, that is my daughter. And if you see the picture, you're going to see it up close. That's me. And my daughter is starting to be a nurse, so she is doing it virtually, unfortunately, because with COVID everything is closed here in Toronto. So our family has become patient zero for her. We are the practice dummies. So this was the first time she not the first time, but the first time with a cuff to take your blood pressure. And I went from being a zombie because she couldn't find my blood pressure to a candidate for a heart attack to being normal within 5 seconds. So I knew that I wanted to document it, and that's what I had, like a celebration of darkness, because that was the joke in the house. So again, might not be for you, but it has a meaning for me. So that was the important thing of this layout. So I'm just playing with the papers. You're gonna see that I'm just creating layers. I added a bit of foam adhesive behind the picture. I backed it with a piece of the daisy papers, the B side, that yellow, just to make it stand out. And then once I have that in place, I'm just gonna glue it straight onto my layer. You're gonna see that I'm gonna place it so that those exact words that I accented with the black application of the art crayon show up on the background. And then I'm gonna use a typewriter with the flowers on top of it, just kind of as my bigger cluster at the bottom of the picture, and that's gonna also help me with my title. And then I'm gonna tie this layout together with those beautiful butterflies. And one of the things you guys maybe don't know is I love butterflies. I come from a town in Ecuador where butterflies literally sit on your hands. That's how many butterflies we used to have when we were a kid. And I'll probably do some pictures come the summer that I have from our vacation where we are stepping on butterflies. It's like being in the butterfly conservatory in Niagara Falls, the little town that I'm from. There's parts that butterflies are just everywhere. So one of the reasons why I love butterflies, they remind me of my grandmother. So if I have to put them every layout, I would go in every single layout. So again, like I said, my layout, because we're patient zero for my daughter, that's gonna be the title of it. I use the alphas from the collection. I tied my layouts, my corners of the triangle with butterflies. I am gonna add a few more embellishments. I'm gonna stay within the dark tones. So you're gonna see there's gonna be some black, a little pops of pink, a little pops of blue, just because that's the colors that I have on the background. But that's pretty much it. I did not over embellish because my background is really heavy, and like I said, my layout went from layout to art journal to layout again. So it's a little bit messy, it's a little bit busy, but I love it just because, like I said, the sentiment why I created it just has a lot of meaning to me. So I'm done with this. The only thing you're not gonna see is that I add my lines with journal right underneath this, the patient zero, and then I'm just gonna move some butterfly at the end because it was bugging me where it was sitting at, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. The roller coaster of creating a layout, you can see it on my page, and it's fun. I love mixed media. I love playing with it. I love adding it to a layout just to bring the sentiment of the page. And like I said, this was a celebration, kind of macabre, kind of dark in a way. Like I said, I went from a zombie to being a heart attack patient to being normal within 5 seconds, and I love it. And as always, you can check more details in the blog. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon, guys. Take care.